Hi, I'm Greg Soul, and this is Why Am I? A podcast that is all about having conversations with interesting people to try and trace a path to where they find themselves today. The lucky contestant this time around is Staza Stone. She's a trained dancer, stilt walker, trapeze artist, fabric artist, hooper, clown, burlesque artist, and an instructor. This kid is a fireball who knows who they are, where they want to go, and honestly, how to get there. Her infectious energy is, I believe, the key to her helping preserve the art of circus. I hope you enjoy this chat with Staza. Staza Stone, thank you for joining me on the Why Am I podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is so cool. I talked to somebody who gave me a referral, 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 and that last referral is you, and so I am so excited.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a concoction and you distill it down to its essence, and it's super strong and amazing and potent. That's you, right?
Oh yeah, that's me. That's great. Put that on my gravestone. That's a great the potent essence.
Yeah. You are obviously extremely energetic. And normally, I'm not going to say normally because I always say that. Traditionally, I would introduce you, talk a little bit about you, but I prefer for you to do that. So I'm going to say you and I are, where are we? Where would you like to be? We are in line at the DMV, which takes forever, obviously. And obviously we're bored out of our minds. So we start talking. I tell you that, what do? I guess I restock grocery store shelves and we go through that. And now it's your turn to reciprocate. And who are you, Staza?
So I am a circus performer. And that's what I would say. And then typically in this conversation, you would go, what? No way, that's crazy. Like the curtains from the sky. And I would say, yeah, but those are called fabric. They're not curtains. They're a really, really strong material that can take a lot of dynamic weight. But yeah, I am a circus performer. What that entails, I do all kinds of a myriad of things. So I'm a hula hooper, stilt walker, aerialist, fire performer, clown, burlesque dancer. I also tap dance. I do puppetry. I do acting. I do living statue. I pretty much, it's a hustle circus person. If you ask me if I can do it, I will figure out a way to do it. So.
Oh my gosh, that is a lot. And would you answer with that much energy as well?
It depends on the setting. So the person, if I'm like really like, oh, I like this person a lot, then I definitely would. But sometimes talking about this profession can be really draining because people are excited by it, which is awesome. But sometimes I'm not willing to like engage in that excitement reciprocation. So it kind of just depends. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm like a performance artist. And then people assume dancer or actor and they're not as interested. They're like, oh, that's neat. Do you perform around town? And I say, yeah. And they're like, awesome. And it makes it like a lot lighter. But if I really am like, oh, I like you, I'm ready for this interaction, then I will go off on the whole thing.
That's interesting. So it is an amazing icebreaker / energy producing thing if you want it to be. It's kind of like a card up your sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. 100% is. And it's like, yeah, do you want to, let's talk about circus because that's my favorite topic. So,
that's so really,
it's a really easy icebreaker. Everyone has a connection to the circus, whatever that might be. It could be something like Barnum and Bailey, 3-ring style carnival. It could be something more extravagant like Cirque du Soleil. It could be just watching it on TV. It could just be being intrigued by it. They could talk about how they hate clowns. There's all kinds of, every single human being has some type of connection to that art form, at least what I have found.
That's funny. Have those connections people have ever surprised you?
Not really. The amount of people that are afraid of clowns is always surprising to me. As a person who like does clowning and really loves clowns, that is really, it's hard for me to understand. It's hard for me to understand that, but I wouldn't say surprised, because it's a trope, right? So it's there, but I'm always a little bit like, oh, the clowns are so fun.
All right. Well, take me back, I guess. There's so many questions. There's so much here to unpack. Take me back to a time, I guess, little Staza. Like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. So I'm East Coast, born and raised. I miss it all the time. So I love the lush forest and fireflies and all that. It's my home. Love the woods. Yeah, and then I've been in Colorado for about a decade, which feels crazy to say, but Colorado, I guess, is slowly turning into be, more of my home than the place where I grew up.
Gotcha. You still go back home every so often?
So, yes, but my parents retired to Florida, as most East Coasters do. They flew themselves south. They said they were sick of the snow. So home is very loose for me now because home is with my family, right? So now my home is kind of in Florida. But I also have friends that are like family to me that still live on the East Coast area, so I will go and visit them. So it's a very home is kind of split and triangulated between, Colorado, East Coast, Florida.
It's interesting. So you said you love the woods. What's your connection with the woods and nature and all that?
The woods are so mysterious. They can be so terrifying and so beautiful. I've never, as a kid, I spent a lot of time, I'm an only child, and I'm like how do I say this? I'm like an extroverted introvert, right? So I'm extroverted, I perform for a living, I have a lot of friends, but I'm actually really enjoy spending time by myself, and I really value that time. And even as a kid, I used to. So I would just go out to the woods to play. And you can create any type of fantasy that you want. That there are roads in any direction, but the minute you walk in, it feels like you're completely alone and isolated, which breeds creativity. It gives, at least for me, it allows my brain the space and the time to grow.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I totally can see that. It sounds like there's a lot of parallels in the other things you do. It gives you an opportunity for creativity and terrifying and beautiful all at the same time. I would describe some of the performances you do to be somewhat terrifying, but amazingly graceful and beautiful at the same time. That's so funny that you would find an outlet that mirrored that thing that you loved so much as a child.
Yeah, I really I see that parallel as well, and I also see the parallel in my personality and what I prefer. Like I said, I'm like an extroverted introvert, right? And so what I get to do for a living allows me to be that way. I might be on stage, but that's very insular. I'm doing me up there. It's for me, although I'm projecting for everyone. So it's very extrovert, introverted kind of thing.
So when you perform, does that exhaust you or does that recharge your batteries?
It usually recharges my batteries, which is pretty cool. If I'm having a really yesterday is a great example. I was so tired, and I was also having I was high anxiety day. I just was feeling scattered. And I went and I had back-to-back shows last night, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. And then afterwards, I was so happy, and I was so glad that it happened, and I felt great. So it's almost 90% of the time, it's going to be a recharge.
That's cool. So you said there's a lot of, I tried to do some research on you, and there's a decent bit about you out there. I see your bio is kind of copy and paste in a lot of places, and there's so many interesting things. So I found you as Trash Rat Queen Supreme. I found you as Glitter Grub. You have a lot of interesting monikers. Where does all that craziness come from?
Yes. Well, so I like to call myself like a trash rat. That's what I like to refer to myself as, in certain ways. I have a whole leg tattoo with a rat and a skunk and like a bat and a raccoon and all kinds of these like trash animals. And like Glitter Grub kind of goes with that. It's like I exist in two forms. I exist as either like no effort like gremlin goblin person who like just like throws on clothes and goes out into the world, or it's like going to be super glam. I spent all this time on makeup and hair and costuming. It's like there's not a lot of in between for me. It's like one or the other. And I've always like identified with like the punk scene, and like growing up I had like a mohawk, and I had I have face piercings still, but I had more facial piercings, and just like being like kind of like that like kind of gutter trashy kind of vibe. And then I lived on a school bus for a while, and we like dumpster dove a lot, and so there's like this whole like history of this like freedom and just like and I also like making trash art. That's another part of this. Like I really, really love making, that's it, trash art, like getting junk or what people might see as junk and turning it into art. Like I love that style of art. But you can see that all over the place, right? I love when people do that.
That's cool. So it sounds like there's something of a dichotomy, like a divide inside you. That's interesting. Do you think, I just want to kind of pick at that thread a little bit. So part of you is like this punk that just wants to be you and do whatever. But then, like I see, and it's even like in some of your Instagram stuff where you're just plain, like you just woke up, you've got your cup of coffee and you cover the camera and then pull back, and it's you like fully, you got full beat on, you got a wig on, you're like ready to perform. So is that kind of what you're talking about, where it's like the two sides of you?
Yeah, for definitely. I mean, doing what I do for a living, it's playing dress up. It's becoming someone else. It allows you to be, the stage is a really beautiful gift because it allows you to be whoever you want to be. Right. And so it's really cool to be able to like experience that transformation. Like I frequently feel like myself on stage unless I'm like in a production that's requiring me to be a character. But if I'm making choices for myself, I'm usually playing some version of me on stage, but it can be any exaggerated, any type of version you want it to be. And like, I love makeup. I love costumes. I love all of that. But I also lazy is not maybe a good word. I don't want to put in the effort. Like that's not my daily, and that's some people's daily. And that's really, really amazing that some people are like that all the time, but that's not my daily. And so when I get to do it for my job, it's like, it's exciting to be able to do that. So yeah, it is like a two-sided thing where it's like, I love this, but I don't want to put that time and energy in. But if I'm going to for work, then yay, I will.
Do you feel, you said it was like a version of you when you're on stage, do you feel like that version of you is still really part of you? Like, or do you feel like you're an actor, doing a performance, or do you feel like it really is still a part of you that's up on stage?
No, I would definitely feel like it's still a part of me. Yeah, especially like a lot of the acts I do are high energy, and like I make faces and I interact with the audience, and that feels truly like me. If there's like other, if I do an act that let's say is more like slow and sexy, that's a little bit harder. That's more like I'm acting because that's just not my personality as much, but it's really fun to do those and challenging. But it's still, I feel like anything that people do on stage, they're pulling from some of their their own experience in order to create that persona, right? And so sometimes I just get lucky and that persona is more parts of me that come out.
Gotcha. That's cool. So was little Staza, when she was growing up, was she this boisterous kid pulling faces and trying to be the class clown? Is that where this sort of thing comes from?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I took like tap and jazz and baton twirling, and I wanted to be on Broadway. I went to Broadway camp. I really can't sing. That's why I do circus instead. So, I was always really into performance and theater and the stage. And in high school, I was voted most energetic, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's always been who I am.
That's cool. Well, when did your interest in, I don't know, I guess it probably started with dance, but where did the circus sort of stuff come in?
Yeah, so I always loved theater, and I always was like, I'm gonna be on Broadway, and then I was like, I can't sing, so that's what happened for me. But I kind of gave that up, not in a bad way. I just I went to college and I got a degree, and then I was really into travel for a while, and then I was like, well, I think it's time I either go to grad school, which you can go to school at any time, of course, for anything, but it just felt like I was at I had to decide. This is a deciding time. What am I going to do? And so I was like, I could go to grad school or I could explore something else. And I took some circus classes just on a whim. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit. And I applied for a program in Boulder with frequent flyers. So they have a full-time aerial dance training. It's a 9-month program. And I applied for it. I lived there at the time. So it all made sense. And they accepted me, which was crazy because I didn't need a lot of their strength requirements because I wasn't doing circus yet at all, But the person who runs the school, this amazing woman, Nancy, she was like, oh, we see a thing in you. We want you to come and do the program. And I did. And now here I am. I just never stopped.
What?
It was kind of on a whim. Yeah. It was I was having a quarter life crisis. It was what should I do?
So you said that lady's name was Nancy?
Yeah.
All right. When she said that she saw something in you, do you remember how that made you feel?
It made me feel amazing because I actually was really worried at the time that I was too old to go to circus school, which is crazy to say. Because thinking about being 24 or whatever, you're and being too old is a wild statement to make now. But so many people start circus when they're younger or out of gymnastics. They have this I had the theater background and everything, but I didn't have this acrobatic or athletic movement background necessarily. I played tennis competitively my whole childhood, but that was my movement level. So I was excited and shocked because I was oh, that's amazing that you don't think I'm too old, or you think you're willing to give me a chance.
Yeah, I don't know that too many people say that sentence. I might be too old for circus college.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of wild.
But people shouldn't say that statement. Now, being in the industry, you are not ever too old, ever. There's benefits to starting circus at any age because, for example, I don't have the traumatic injuries of my body that people that grew up doing certain styles of athletic performance might be facing right now. My body, it's fascinating the ways that each one has benefits, of course, and minuses. But
that makes sense. Yeah, it totally makes sense. What did you go to college for? What was your undergrad?
I went to college for cultural anthropology.
Cultural anthropology. So what was it that you wanted to be when you grew up at that point?
Okay. as a kid, my hero, it was Indiana Jones.
Everybody, duh.
Yeah. Right, everyone's hero, and he's an archaeologist. I realized, as an adult, that what he was doing was really wrong. don't take those things; they're not for you. But that was kind of like always coming from there. That was like the first inspiration, and I really wanted to work with developing clean water systems in areas that don't have access. That's like where I was heading. That's what I wanted to be doing with my degree. That is what I would have went to grad school for. I would have probably like went and gotten like a science degree for like water engineering or something of that nature. But yeah, but I did it. I was
I know, so. Dude, that is a pretty monumental pivot. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know, it's wild. I mean, I guess in my something that Circus has given me is like kind of what I was saying to you, is that you're never too old to do anything, I don't believe. And so in my mind, I'm like, if this is something that I did want to pursue one day, I could, because there would be nothing like stopping me, I wanted to like make another pivot. If one day I'm like, okay, I've had my fill of the performance life, I want to go and do this. But
got you. Did the circus stuff challenge you in ways you just like really didn't expect?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a constant challenge. I like every day. Every day, being an artist, like living life as an artist, is more of the challenge, I think, than circus. Like circus definitely challenges you mentally and physically, right? You have to say, this is scary and I'm going to try to do it. And so it's overcoming a lot of these mental barriers physically, because you're like, I want to do this, but I'm physically not strong enough yet. So getting to that place of being strong enough. But more so, I think like being an artist is the most challenging thing, especially during this time that we've lived through recently, the recent events of the world.
We are still living through, yeah.
Like that we are literally living through. Just like how to keep going and what that means and what that looks like, and daily challenge to like rethink of these questions as a news article pops up, as a gig cancellation might pop up, like, yeah.
So speaking of looking at some of your history, you were doing some circus work for a group in Florida, right?
Are you talking about Cirque Dreams?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're like Fort Lauderdale or something like that in Florida.
Yeah. So they came to Denver.
Oh, okay.
So I worked with them here, but they are from Florida. That's why I was like, let me clarify which one you might be talking about.
Okay. So I'm assuming, because through that research, I was checking those guys out, and then right about the time the pandemic hit, like all of their social media stopped. So I'm assuming that kind of stuff just sort of like disappeared, like as far as all that goes, right?
It did. They are making their way back. So they're planning on doing another like holiday run this upcoming year, depending on how things go. But I think that the larger entities like Cirque Dreams, because they're an umbrella under Cirque du Soleil.
Okay.
So like the larger entities, I think like had, I'm not going to say more of a hit, but a less ability to be able to like pivot or adapt as like smaller or like independent performers might have had during this time.
Gotcha. I just thought it was interesting. So you've done some work with those folks. I mean, you've got, a mile-long rap sheet, I guess, as far as that stuff concerns. And then I saw you also did some performing for like Insomniac, which for anybody who's familiar, like I go to a lot of, I guess you call them raves. But yeah, I've done a lot of that in the past. And so I've seen a ton of performers doing all kinds of crazy cool things at those. And it's sort of weird to see those worlds collide. Just a random person I run into. No telling whether I've seen you actually live or not at this point. But how do you...
You totally might have, like, depending on what event you're at. We just, that's
like, how do you find all this stuff? Or does this stuff find you?
So now, at this point in my life, it's definitely a blend. So there was a time when I first started where it's like actively applying, right? So like Insomniac, I applied to them. That's how I saw their casting call, or like Cirque Dreams, saw their casting call, went to auditions, did that whole thing. And then there are some things that now, as like people know me more, I work with more people, and you learn and you make your network, then people start reaching out to you with these really cool like opportunities. Or they'll send, I just feel really grateful for people in my life because they'll send me cast calls too. They're like, I saw this and I thought of you. And I was like, I have not seen this at all. Okay, awesome. I'm going to apply for this.
That's so cool. So, I mean, a part of you, it sounds like you never sit still. Like, are you ever doing just one thing, or do you always just have like, are you just constantly nose of the grindstone finding all of these things?
I am like something I'm working on with myself, since you bring it up, is not being such a workaholic. I'm like a super workaholic, in the sense that it's like, it is very constant. I'm always performing with this group and that group and making this show and training this and like looking for this opportunity. So it's very much like, I think it's because I feel so grateful and so lucky that I get to do this with my life. And it really fulfills me and I really love it. And so I just say yes to everything. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, oh my God, I need to sit on my couch.
Well, I totally get it. Like we all want to eat and pay our rent. But beyond that, like chasing this stuff, when you close something, is there like the sense of like satisfaction? Like, do you do like a little fist pump? Like, yeah, I'm in there, or is it just like, has it become just work for you now to like find all this stuff and hunt it down?
Oh no, it definitely is like exciting. Like some things are like more like, okay, great, this will pay my rent, right? That's like some jobs are like that, but a lot of the things, especially if I actively apply, then yeah, like getting the job is like so exciting. Like certain things I've gotten to do, like, because you brought up Insomniac, like I went to like Japan with them and performed. That was incredible. Like that I was so excited when I got offered that opportunity. And working with Cirque Dreams was the same. I was so excited to work with them because the level of talent and their production value is amazing. And I was just like, yes, like so pleased. And that trickles down to like all my local people too, my local companies. Like I work with this company, Circus Foundry, and when they were like, hey, do you want to be a part of our like core cast? I was like, what? Really? Okay, you want me? And it was so amazing. And the company that I co-own, Rainbow Militia, was very similar. Like, let me think, like 4 years ago, 4 or 5, maybe 4. I don't know, the time, somewhere around there. They reached out to me and asked if I wanted to like be a co-owner and be a part of what they were creating. And that was one of those moments too. They're very like pivotal moments where it's very much like, yeah, I'm doing it right.
It's like vindication. It's confirmation of what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, that's what, I guess that's what everyone's life and career is about, but like, what is going to make you happy? What makes you feel successful? Like, these are the moments that have made me feel successful. Like, versus because other people, outside people are, especially with the arts, I feel like are always putting like success, like the things on top of you. Like, you should be on America's Got Talent. That would be a signifier of success, or, those kinds of weird statements. And I don't agree with those. And so these are like my own personal success things.
That's interesting. So you're defining what your success looks like. You're chasing that and knocking them down one at a time. That's so cool.
Yeah. So cool. Thank you. Because what's kind of like, otherwise, who are you living for? Like if it's not for yourself, and like, what is it? It's all arbitrary anyways. We're like living in this weird like blip of time. So like, you should be happy.
Damn, bro. That is like pretty profound. I know you just kind of spit that out like it was nothing, but that was pretty baller. I really, yeah. All right, man. I think we're done. We can close it up here. Thank you. No. That's, yeah, absolutely. Right. Like I was looking at something the other day, and I was kind of like looking at all the weird stuff I do. Like I'm constantly doing all kinds of weird things. And I've heard people say before, maybe you should just try and stay in your own lane. You know, just stay in your lane. And I was thinking more about that, and I was like, that's them defining who I am. This is who they perceive me to be, and they want me to stay in that little box. And it's like, I'm composed of so many more complex things, some of which maybe you don't get or you don't like, but I'm the one who gets to define me, right? Like, not you. And so
Yeah.
you are definitely defining yourself like in all these interesting and creative ways. But not only that, it's not, I mean, for me, like saying I want this thing, but never actually putting any energy into it, right? You're just wishing. And you know, it sounds like you're actually saying, these are the things I want, and you're putting a plan in place, and you're actually achieving that. And that's phenomenal. I mean, that's what everybody wants ultimately, right?
Yeah, right? That's kind of like the approach I take to it. Like, you know, like you're saying, like if someone says stay in your lane, that's bullshit. You make your lane. You're making your lane and I'm making my lane. And so there is no lane to stay in if I'm actively paving it. Like that doesn't make, like, yeah. Get out of here with that. That makes no sense. We're not living this like predetermined destiny. We're actively creating our destinies as we go. And it's hard to find what you want. I think that a lot of people get stuck up, hung up on like, what do I want? Like, what am I trying to achieve? And so I feel that way too frequently. Like, what am I really trying to make? What do I really want in the long run? But when it comes to like, I can see like the immediate future very clearly, right? And I'm like, in the immediate future, I want to do this show or I want to do that. And so being able to hit these achievements, and then you look back and you're able to say like, oh wow, I did all those things, but a little over time.
Yeah. Well, some of that I've found, like people that sort of hint that towards me, I'm always growing and changing, right? And so the thing I used to love to do that really fed me doesn't really anymore. So I've sort of shifted my energies, and they like that thing I used to do. And it's unfortunate that some people, you know, not everybody grows at the same rate, and some people sort of seem to get locked in time. It is what it is. But and I try to stay open-minded about those things and don't begrudge them that. And you know, everybody gets in different places, different times. But it's like, man, I'm a living, changing being. You know, I'm never going to be the same 2 days in a row, even. So I don't think there's anything wrong with
that. No, there's not. And it's like, it's cool if people are the opposite. Whatever you do, you. But I don't know. But it's like, do people that stick themselves inside these little boxes or these personalities or these hobbies, are they happy? I don't know. You know, that's a question for them. But I feel like a lot of people spend too much time just caring about what others think or about what they should be doing or about like, I've committed to this, so this is the thing. And it's like, no way. Like, what? You can change that at any moment, at any age. This, again, like I'm saying, like, it really depends on your whole belief system. But let's just say, like, this is it. So it's like, you better change what you're doing if you're not, like, the happiest that you could be, or at least existing in a contentment.
Yeah. Or it's like people responded when I did this one specific thing, so I have to keep doing this. You know, I can't change. Yeah. And that's just a shitty place to be. I always feel bad for those folks. So, speaking of challenging yourself, I noticed you did the Aerial Olympics, and that's one of the videos I saw. I think was one of your submissions to the Aerial Olympics. I think it was the 2016 performance, and I thought that was amazing. I loved it. I loved your musical choice, the way you put everything together, your movement. And I'm not sure what that apparatus is called. It was like a hoop with a bar in the middle, but that's pretty baller.
Thank you. So that's an apparatus that I invented, which was super exciting. Yeah, I invented with an ex of mine who's a welder who creates circus equipment now. But we came up with that apparatus together, and we call it a Mobi because it's like half of a Mobius strip. So it's M-O-B-I, like Mobius, but just
not
Mobi.
like the ball DJ. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Not like I love Moby though. I love Moby's great at what he's doing. But yeah, so we came up with that. That was that experience. I am so happy I had that experience. That was just like really, that was the U.S. Aerial Championships that you're talking about in particular, because I did the Aerial Olympics too. That was later, a little bit later in my life. But the U.S. Aerial Championships, I was like super unprepared for that. I felt like that. I'd only been doing circus for like 2.5 years at the time. Like everyone else competing was so much higher level. I remember laying on stage before the lights came up and I was like, I'm gonna puke like on stage right now. But I did it and I got through it and I'm very proud of it. But that was like probably one of the scariest like times ever in my life.
Well, what convinced you to do it in the first place?
So I don't know. I just like really like pushing and challenging myself. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna apply for this. I'm never gonna get into it. And so I got first like backup. So I actually wasn't originally in the competition. I got first like backup slot. And in my mind I was like, whew, okay. I felt like it felt good to be like considered right there. Like that was enough I was like, I feel good that I'm even like right there on that list and I don't have to do it. Okay, great. And then somebody like had to drop out and then they were like, you're in. I was like, oh
no.
Oh no. Okay, here we go.
Hilarious.
So that was wild. And then after that, I did the Aerial Olympics like 2 years later, and that one I went to, and I felt way different about that one. I was like, I felt super confident, and I got a gold medal, and that was like one of the most exciting times that's happened to me in aerial. I was so like, that was really, really cool feeling.
That's cool. So is it an actual medal or is it a trophy or what?
Yeah, it's both. I have a trophy, I have a giant trophy, and I have like a medal. So
that's cool. You casually bring that up when you're talking to other circus people?
Right. You're like, I'm like, I pull it out. I keep it on me at all times. Actually, I just like lift it out of my shirt.
I didn't realize that was still there. My bad. Okay.
Oh, whoopsies! But I have that at home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you still think back on that? Do you think maybe I want to do that again at some point, or are you good now?
I do think about that. I think maybe I'd want to do it again at some point as a challenge to myself, because that really pushed me to like, right now, I like the way I train a lot of stuff and then I make acts. But I perform so frequently, which is amazing, but I kind of like, I don't get to spend like a ton of time creating acts. Like I don't get to like really invest in like 6-month act creation. And I think that amount of time makes like the best kind of stuff. And for competitions like that, that's like the kind of time I'm putting into creation. So I think that the acts that I really, really love have come out of that time period. So I think about it in those terms, like artistically as a challenge to myself to make something that I feel confident putting on stage in a competition.
Is that hard? Because you're like so high energy and it seems like you're always doing so many things. Is it hard for you to kind of like focus and just do this one single thing and like really concentrate on it?
I would say yes, but not when it comes to training, which is probably something I really also love so much about circus, because I think it has been like a therapy for me in so many ways. Movement, I think, is therapy. Circus is therapy. And I have like an over-energetic personality. I have like, like ADHD. So if I'm at home, I'm going to be like, I'm going to water a plant. Oh, but also while I'm watering that, I'm going to walk over here because I see this thing that, and then, and then you're like building a shelf or whatever. Like, there's no like train of thought. But when I go into practice for circus stuff, I am like this hour is dedicated to this. And I might get like more like caught up on doing a move and practicing the move over and over, but I do not get distracted. Yeah. And I go and I do the thing. So.
So when you're learning something new, are you pretty hard on yourself, or do you give yourself a little bit of grace when you're trying to pick up that new move or that new technique or come up with something?
I'm pretty hard on myself. There's like, I did make like a video about expectation like versus reality, and it's me like doing a trick well, and then it's me slamming my hoops on the ground.
I think I saw that.
That's a real moment. Like, that is real. I have a lot of videos of me being just like super upset and pissed at my apparatus, at my props, at myself. So I would say I'm hard on myself, but I also am a slower learner. And so I've had to learn through that to give myself more grace. As in, like, if I take an aerial class from someone and they teach like this like crazy drop, let's say, I might not even do it that day. Like, the rest of the class might do it, and I might be like, I don't want to do it right now. Like, I want to walk through this rap. I want to practice this on my own a lot. Like, I'm like more cautious and definitely like take more time with getting information like that.
That's cool. Well, you know, I found, at least for me, like learning things mentally, like if I'm studying some certification or something technical, you know, that's kind of like one mode that I have to get in, and I could usually absorb that stuff at a moderate pace. But then when I'm trying to teach my body to do something, it seems like it takes forever. And my body is the worst student I've ever had. So it's, to me, that's, I don't know. Some people, I guess, just have a different gift. My wife can pick up choreography in 15 minutes and be able to relay. You know, it's like my brain is just not built that way. But I assume it's like a muscle that, you know, the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. And do you feel like over time you've gotten better at controlling yourself in those things?
Totally. And especially with the specific movement styles, like you're talking about choreography, right? Like I can do choreography, but I can't pick it up in 15 minutes. I need time, and I need to go over it over and over again. And then I will have it, and great. But I don't dance a lot anymore. I dance sometimes because it's required for shows I'm in, but it's not like my main thing. But with like aerial and stuff, the longer and longer I'm doing it, the quicker I can pick up on things. Because my brain says, oh, I know this movement pathway. Yeah, it's like this other pathway that we know. And so I can definitely pick up on new things or teach myself new things, discover new pathways a lot quicker with the more time and practice I put into it.
So you were talking about getting aggravated and slamming your hoop down. It made me think about competition. So you said growing up you did a lot of tennis. You competed that way. You competed in the aerial Olympics. What do you do to compete now?
I guess honestly, I think that I mostly like I'm competing with myself, and not like in a bad way, in a way of like being, what can I do better? Like, so nobody's asking me to get better, in quote, like, right? There's like this specific set of hula hoop skills that are codified into Circus, and the best hula hoopers do these skills. And nobody is asking me to achieve these skills. Everyone hires me still. It's great. It's going great. But I want to do them. I want to do them. I want to be at that level. I want people to include me with those names of people. So that's the competition right there. It's just with myself, like challenging myself to be better in the sense of like harder, more skill based, you know, because better is so arbitrary. So yeah, that is so, in my opinion, incredibly healthy. Because earlier in my life, I used to compare myself to others, and of course, I was always found lacking. And my wife told me one time that like comparison is the thief of joy, and that really made some things click. It's like, yeah, I don't need to be as good or better than that other person. I just need to be as good or the best version of myself that I can be. So I just, you know, I think I'm mostly, so I still compete in like sports against people, but it's more about my execution
of whatever it is I'm trying to do. It has less to do with them on the other side of the court. So I think that's cool. It takes people a really long time, I think, to get there or realize that. And obviously, we don't always make it. Occasionally, we have to slam some hoops on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's cool.
And occasionally, I will catch myself comparing myself to others, right? And then I have to take a step back and remind myself, like, you know, everyone's unique and we all have our own talents. And like, what am I jealous of right now? Am I jealous of this costuming? Am I jealous of your ability to do this skill? What am I jealous of? Because what can I do then? Like if it's like, wow, that's an amazing costume. I wish I had something like that. Well, I can make that happen. If it's like, wow, that's an amazing skill, I can work really hard and train and get that skill, you know. But frequently I will find after like the moment passes, I'm like, well, I don't actually want to do that. So, like, I don't want to do that. That actually is not a skill for me that I care about, right? I'm like, I care about these. It's like recognizing, kind of like going back to even what we were talking about earlier, like recognizing what you want and then your day-to-day kind of stuff, I think really helps to separate that like comparison competition thing with others.
Yeah. There's one thing that pops into my mind is a friend of mine who is just technically brilliant. So I like my day-to-day is like in the technical world, and he, I mean, just had the most just minute pieces of information on like all of these like all these subjects we'd be working on or various things like that. And just, it's like it's like, Jesus, I mean, this guy's a genius level compared to me. And so you just always feel less than. And then, you know, I was thinking about, it's like, well, what actually got him there? And he goes and he like reads like RFCs, which is just like dry paperwork for hours on end. And it's not that he wants to do that. It's that he has like a compulsion in his brain that forces him to do that. It's like, I don't want to be that. You know, it's like, that's not part of me. I want to go and do these other things that I love and enjoy. And my brain doesn't make me turn the light switch on and off 3 times to make sure that my parents don't die. You know what I mean? So it's, for me, it was also understanding what that other person goes through to get there. And it's like, that's not me. And that's not what I want. And it helped me not begrudge them, you know, or not that I would before, but just comes to terms with my abilities, where I fit in, and my strengths as compared to other people. And I compare myself a lot less nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And that is like exactly, I feel like what we have to do. Like, you know, I experienced similar things with like, you know, looking at people on contracts, like these really amazing contracts where they're like living in like Singapore, right? And performing circus in these big tents. And it's like, I'm like, man, I want to do that. But then I'm like, oh, but to do that, I would have to give up a lot. I would have to give up my living with my partner and my animals and being with close to my friends. And maybe I couldn't see everyone for like a year. Like, and I'm like, that immediately it's like, oh, I don't like, that's what that person is doing to achieve that. And that I do not want to do that to achieve that. Right. That is what their experience is like. I do not want that. And it's really, it puts it into perspective real quick when you are like, when you step into that other person's shoes and are seeing things. And maybe in their shoes, they're happy with that. But I'm like, oh, I don't want to live in these shoes. Like, these are not for me. Yeah.
I've quickly realized in my senility here how lazy I really am. And it's like, I don't want to do all those things. I just, you know, I just want to do cool stuff, but I don't want to do all that. That's too much work.
Yeah.
So tell me, so I'm looking at, God, man, you have done so much stuff. But we talked about circus. We talked about clowning a little bit. How did you get into clowning? Or was that like part and parcel of circus? Is that just like part of circus?
So yes and no. So there are individuals who are, you know, they like dedicate their whole lives to clown, right? They either go to clown school or they like come up themselves as a clown, and that's like what they do. And it is such like an incredible specific art that is like that's like untouchable. But you know, like I'm like, I feel like I'm a like clown light TM or something. like, because I am energetic, I'm silly, I love playing games, I'm natural, I'm like a natural clown in personality. And so when I was first asked to do different character work, right? Like, so at festivals, you see the groups of performers that are characters roaming around. That is clowning to me. Like, you are putting on this silly persona and you're going out, whatever. You don't have to have like the clown face, the full whiter by any means to be a clown. So that's like kind of how I started. And in my mind, I like saw the connection between, you know, like character, theater, and clown, and it's all like very intimate. And yeah, and then from there, I just like was hired a couple times to do clowning as a clown. And then I like took some miming classes, and I've taken some clowning classes and clowning workshops, and I just love it so much. Clown is so, I think like every single human on earth could benefit from taking like a clown workshop, because it just really asks you to like strip yourself of your ego, because clown is all about like stepping outside of yourself. You are creating the interaction, right? And it's often like asking you to play like you're playing maybe like a childlike character. It's really like taking away all of these layers of overcomplication of thought. And then some clown is very complicated and very deep, and it's like a full show length of full range of emotions. But yeah,
something you said there.
That was a long rant about clowning.
No, yeah.
I just like love it, and I think it's such a wonderful, beautiful art form. And yeah, people really devote their whole lives to doing it.
That's cool.
And I feel like I know so many like really wonderful performers that are clowns and have like just blown me away with their creativity. Their humor in their creativity.
So you said part of becoming a clown, I guess, whenever you're doing the performance, is stripping yourself of your ego. Do you think you still have parts of you that come through as a clown, or do you think that's where you actually put on the mask and it's completely somebody else?
No, I would still say it's parts of myself. I would just say it's like I release all attachment to embarrassment.
That's impossible for me.
Yeah, like if you're like, because literally, like we're like standing on top of like something, like going like ah, like screaming, being loud, obnoxious. That's like one type of clown, right? And just being like ridiculous spectacles, and because you are the spectacle, so you're asking everyone to look at you while you do something ridiculous. And so yeah, it's like it's stripping away any embarrassment that you could have, but it's still, I feel like, at least for me, it's a lot of me. I think that everyone could find their clown. You know, there are more like the shy clown or whatever, sad clown, but I think that the type of clown that is required at certain events like festivals and other kinds of things, there's a personality type that's probably a little bit more predisposed to it, you know, because you have to be willing, you just have to be willing to like drop that and step outside.
Did that come natural to you, being able to just kind of strip your embarrassment and just do the clown thing? Or is that something you had to work at?
Yeah, I would say it came pretty natural to me because I've always been okay with being like, with making a fool of myself, so. But not always. I mean, I still get embarrassed, of course, and there's still things that happen, but and sometimes even with performing, it's like with that specific crowd, one-on-one, like we're talking to you, interaction. It's very much like, okay, here we go now, like, and also trying to remain sharp, like in the sense of like being able to make people laugh, right? So it's like if someone says something funny to you or like makes a quick remark, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like process that back, or are you gonna like blow a raspberry in their face? You could do either, you know, or like either way.
Oh, gosh. So I know you guys just wrapped up doing Beer Quest, And I was looking at some of the shots from that, and you as your character, I can't remember the name of your character, but it's like I could absolutely see everything you're describing. Like in my mind's eye, I was just seeing those pictures of you just being in the most ridiculous positions, and just, I don't know, I could see by your disposition, by the way you were holding yourself, it was like there was zero artifice, zero embarrassment, and you were just entirely embodying the character, and that terrifies me. Like, to be able to just relinquish control of how others see you. I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I don't super care, but I have this need to like have some semblance of control of that. And holy hell, you just like, I think you are probably the bravest person I've talked to so far on here. And
well, right? No, but what you're saying about the mask, right? So you're talking about like, do I feel like I put on a mask? No, but I feel like I put on armor when I put on my makeup and costume. That is your armor. I am not me anymore. Like, my personality might still be the same, but I'm not me. Like, if I going out like this right now and doing that would be a lot harder, like times 1,000, because people would look at me like, what is this crazy person doing? Whereas if you're in a costume, they're like, oh, you're doing a thing. Like they know there's something more to it, and so they're like more forgiving with how you're being. So like, I appreciate you saying that I'm brave, thank you. But it's also like I am putting on like an armor of sorts when I put on the makeup and costume to go out.
so it's like a full mental shift that happens, like when the application of costuming and makeup goes on. You're just mentally putting yourself in another place, I guess, then.
Yeah, totally. Definitely that is what's happening. Like I've gotten better over time with that by taking like clowning workshops and stuff like that, where it is very much like remove the clown nose, remove that, and and how can you still be this character? How can you still have that ability to learn that like confidence? And which is why I was saying I think anyone could benefit from something like that. But yeah, but it's still very much like a different mental state. It's like you can't see me anymore, so I can do what I want.
That's cool. It's a license to be as crazy as you feel like.
Exactly. Yes.
I can dig it.
And the more elaborate the costume or wild the costume, I feel sometimes, the more like, opportunity for that comes out of it. Like if I'm in full, like I did this character for a few years in a row where it's like a kind of like a murder clown. So it's like really playing into like what you don't want. But
you sold out.
Really fun. And I did my makeup like all really like melty, deranged clown and full and crazy outfit, and have like a hatchet, and like that one is super fun because I feel like I look crazy, and so I am crazy. Like I go behind people and like squeeze the horn, and they turn around, and I'm like grimacing at them. Like really, that's really that one's really fun.
I'm trying to imagine you as imposing, because you are quite literally a foot shorter than me, and I mean, like, you probably weigh as much as a sack of concrete when you're dripping wet. So it's sort of a hard sell, but I think I see where you're coming from.
But with that's right. So when you put on the right kind of look and you like really embody that inside, and yeah, like people are, I have scared people.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, if it makes you feel better, I'm sure you would scare me too. I would just have to look for you first, and then once I spotted you down there, I'm sure I'd be very into it. No, you talk about, I've heard you mention workshops a lot. Is that, part of the process, like for clowning, for circus? Is some of that stuff you like learn on your own, or is that really, is that, is this the way, is that you go to workshops and learn from other people?
So there are definitely barriers when it comes to obtaining knowledge in any art form, in any avenue, right? And so I do not think that you have to go to workshops or go to classes or lessons to be able to do this. because of like monetary reasons, because of like having access to studios, there are definitely limiting factors. I feel grateful that I've been able to, like, I not only did I grow up with a family that was really supportive of me taking classes and like learning the things I wanted to in every realm, like whether that was tennis or whether that was, you know, tap dancing. But I also like live in a place where I have a vast resource of amazing artists around that put on workshops, and maybe they're donation based or maybe they're not. But when it comes to something like aerial, you should 100% learn that from someone who is trained, because you can really, really hurt yourself. So, and like, there are, you know, of course, once you learn things, you practice on your own, you get stronger, you get better. Right. But there are things that like, yeah, do I understand how this move works? Because I can look at it and analyze the rap and analyze the movement. Totally. Am I going to pay someone who knows how to do that to show me it first? Yes, because I don't want to die, you know? I'm a super advocate for not teaching yourself aerial. Hula hooping is a lot different. I love teaching hula hooping. I teach students. I have that. I've gone to workshops so I can, because I think that one-on-one learning is so fulfilling, that you can get so far, you build a community out of it. But that is something I love about like hula hooping, juggling, clowning. You can do those things yourself. You can watch people that you're obsessed with, and, you know, and like try to analyze their videos and like go from there and build up your repertoire, because you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not like, right. Maybe your look might hit you or something.
Damage your ego, maybe.
Yeah, but you're not going to hurt yourself. So I really love those particular branches of circus because of the accessibility. Like if you have a plastic circle, you can learn like hula hoop stuff. And I think that if you have the ability to go to workshops, I think that is such like an amazing supplement for everyone at every level of their skill.
So something that jumps to mind is like when you're talking about this stuff, you're learning from somebody on how to do something, but it makes me wonder, how much does that affect your artistic style or your artistic voice? Like, do you think that it starts coloring the way you perform sort of that routine? And like, if everybody went to the same instructor, do you think everybody sort of mimics that instructor's style a bit? Or do you think you're really just learning the mechanics of the moves, and you know, the voice of your performance, you find all of that on your own?
I think that it starts as the first and ends with the latter. So it's kind of like, I 100% think that when people all attend the same studio or same classes with the same instructor, they develop a style that looks the same, because that instructor has a way that they like to move. They have moves that they like to teach, right? And so all of those students will learn those moves, they'll learn those pathways. And at least like coming from someone, you know, who was student and now instructor and goes back and forth in between, I wanted my instructor to like what I was doing. So I would be like, you like pretty lines and you like these like very like fluid movements. So I'm going to try to embody that. And that's like the, I think, first step. And then once you become comfortable and strong, then you can find your own voice where you're like, actually, I want to do this angular move, or you go to another instructor and you see what they're teaching, and you know, you kind of like start to build your own style and your own artistic voice. But I think a lot of it starts definitely initially with who you're learning from, kind of like influences what you value, like what style you value.
So when you see people you teach, you know, I'm assuming they're going to start mimicking your style. Have you ever seen any of them start finding their own voice and kind of becoming their own?
Oh yeah. It's so exciting. Yeah. It's awesome. I am so, like, my favorite thing to teach is when people are act building and they want help creating an act with character and like making the moves all smooth. And that's like the most exciting, because that's their idea. That's their thing that they want to create. It's their like baby that they're making. And it's really awesome to be able to witness that process. Or like, you know, they're like, oh, I know this pathway because it's what you taught me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but you could go like these 3 other pathways. And to see them be like, oh yeah, and make a choice that they want to make, not just because it's the only thing they know. Because that's a part of it too. Like, especially with aerial, the knowledge is so, you do it this way because it's safe, right? And so in your brain, you're like, I do the move this way because it's safe. And until you learn like, oh, maybe there's another way to do this move that's also safe, your brain is only thinking on this one track because you don't want to hurt yourself. And so there's like definitely a knowledge kind of gain that has to happen for the creativity to blossom more.
Why the unprecedented times we live in change things, but do you do a lot of instructional stuff? Like, were you teaching classes or things?
Yeah. So I used to, pretty much every studio in town, I probably taught like a regular class at some point or another. And I love them all. And maybe I've like stopped because of scheduling, or because they like I found someone that could work like well in my place, because I love performing more than anything. And it was really hard for me to keep a weekly class, because like, even if the class is on a Tuesday, let's say, I perform every weekend. So it's like, well, when would I go visit my family? You know, like there's like, it's just really hard for me to keep a weekly teaching schedule. So now I mostly sub in, and I love subbing in. I think it's super fun. It's really fun for the students because, like we're talking about, they're used to this one instructor style, and then I come in and get to do my style. And that's always, I think, a really great time for the students and for me. And I see people that I've taught over the years. Again, it's like a reunion. So I sub, and I also teach workshops, and I teach one-on-one. So I have like my own like shared studio space, and I teach one-on-one lessons in there a lot. So I have like regular students that come to me for those types of classes.
That's cool. That's cool. It's so funny. I was thinking about how you were saying in college you wanted to travel around, you know, build water systems, pick up and move. And now you're talking about going into a new studio, building up a system, right? Helping all these people. And then you replace yourself, and then you move on to the next and to the next. And so you're still, I don't know if you realize, but you're still following the same pattern that you had set up for before, where you go in and you help people, you know, one way or the other, and then, you know, make it self-sustaining, and then you move on. So I think that's really cool.
Well, it is. Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, but yeah, it is very similar with exactly what I wanted to do. And like helping, and like also being like a part of community in different communities. And I really feel like I am in this little pocket of circus we have here in like Denver and in Colorado. I definitely feel like I have connections to several different of the smaller communities, and that's something I love and really value for myself. So, and
that's actually exactly what I was fixing to ask you about, because you had mentioned that maybe a couple of times before, is that building community. So I found like when I go to conferences and stuff like that, I'll pick up maybe 1 or 2 people, right? I collect people now. That's like my thing. And just building up like these little communities of folks all over the place. Like that's become so important to me. Like, I don't know about you, but growing up, like I didn't really fit in, and I maybe had one friend at a time, but I just, you know, I was always a square peg in a round hole everywhere I went. And so it's so funny that now, especially with like the internet and stuff like that, that I can find my people. Like I can find them. None of them are near me really, but I start collecting all these people, and building kind of my chosen family, I guess, for better or worse, has been really important for me. Is it something you're doing like in the circus? Like, is community like a really strong part of circus and all this performance stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't speak for like the entirety of,
well,
you know,
of course.
what goes on in other places, of course, but here in our area, I think it's extremely important. Like, there is absolutely no way that Rainbow Militia would be able to put on the shows we put on without community support. There is absolutely no way that we could survive as teachers and as performers without community support. Like, it's a really wonderful thing that we have going on, where it's like a bunch of people performing for like the same companies or teaching at several studios, and it's all like very intermingled. You know, like I was telling you, like I own a company, right? So I perform for them, but then I also perform for this company and this company and this company and this one. And it's awesome to be able to do that and not have anyone be like, well, you can't do that, you know, like, or whatever weird thing they're like gonna do. Everyone is like very much like, you know, like a rising tide lifts all ships kind of mentality thing. And I really believe in that. And I think that a lot of the people who are at the forefront of the circus community here also believe that. And so that's really what we've been like working towards kind of cultivating. Yeah, because it's kind of everything that you're saying, because like, why, if that's the type of person you are who wants that kind of community, why not build it yourself? You know, why not create that? And that's how I feel. Like I said, I'm an only child, and so like I don't necessarily have that like sibling or family kind of thing. I definitely, like, I was always the kid in school. Like, I was in theater and band, but then I also played tennis, and then I was like kind of class clowny. So I had like all these pockets. But I really only had like 4 friends that I ever hung out with. You know, like this really small friend group, like actual friend group. Like I like have like chosen family as well, and friends that I've like built in a couple different places. And so I feel like it's just a part of my personality to be like, how can we create that here so that we all feel supported?
You know, I was thinking about the circus stuff, and obviously I'm not that knowledgeable on it or really performing arts in general. I know what I like, right? I know what I don't like sometimes, but I was thinking about it, like with a lot of artistic stuff, there's a legacy that you can see, right? So if somebody's like a visual artist, like they're making paintings, those paintings could last hundreds of years, right? Like that legacy could live on, or you know, just various mediums like that where it can live on. But like I was thinking about circus as an art form, that's not really something you capture in a picture, right? It's kind of like heritage passed down from generation to generation via stories. And I was thinking, how do you do that outside of building a community of people so that you can pass on those tools, those techniques, and how you do this stuff? So it's like a living, breathing, it's very ephemeral as well. And it's only going to continue to exist if people like you are open and receptive and are fired up about it and want to share that love and knowledge with the rest of the world. And how do you do that if you don't build a community? So I think that's pretty amazing and special when you really think about it, like how this could not exist if people like you didn't want to keep it alive, right? It's not something that people can just, 100 years from now, like if you guys quit sharing it, they couldn't go back and figure out what was happening, what it looked like, how it existed. I think that's amazing. That's almost like a little bit of pressure that you can put on yourself if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, well, you're talking about legacy. The only thing that I hope to leave behind is people that are like, that was a really great person and a really amazing person. And they taught me, and whatever, Staza taught me this, which I will value. That's all. That's like what I want. That's what I'm looking for, is exactly what you're saying. Like how building, like giving people this confidence, this excitement, this like love for life and circus. And so, because when I leave, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to have a painting that's going to be around for hundreds of years. You know, whatever, we make videos, but what's that going to look like? What's that even going to look like in a decade? Who knows? Like, as our platforms are so rapidly changing, who freaking knows what that's even going to be like? Oh my God. Like, I can't imagine the amount of media that's going to have been produced and like out there. So it's kind of like, then what I think it's going to kind of be kind of how it was before technology, where you only witnessed what you physically saw and what was in your circle more so. Like, it's going to like almost revert back to that, where it's like, we have so much media and so much going on. So the things that really impact people will be what's actually in their immediacy. So that's all I hope, is that I can like inspire people to continue to build community through circus and to look beyond like competition and beyond ego and just really make art, make stuff together.
Yeah. Make beautiful things. You know, and that reminds me of, I mean, I used to always listen to a lot of EDM, a lot of music and stuff like that. And then I actually went to like a rave for the very first time, and it was transformative for me, because it became not just me listening to this thing, but it became this experience, like with the lights, the atmosphere. You're surrounded by thousands of other people all moving in the same direction, wanting the same thing. And you feel it just as much as you hear it, because I mean, there's like a wall of subwoofers next to you, and when that beat drops, you know, sometimes you can't hardly breathe, you know, it knocks the breath out of you. So it's so funny how different it is to just experience it in your headphones or see it in a video online. But when you actually see somebody like you really performing something like that in person, it's an experience. And I think also, like, when you're fully prepared, you know, mentally, you've gone to this place to experience this thing, I think it can be so much more powerful. And it seems lost on a lot of people. Like, it's hard for me to convince my kids to come and do this stuff. I force them to do all kinds of things now, but it seems like people are getting less and less interested in going and experience things. But I guess, dude, just talking to you, like, you are so fired up. It like definitely makes me, so I could see you're an amazing ambassador, but outside of that, how do you like talk people into coming to this stuff?
I mean, just like this, being genuine, like with my exactly how much I love it and how important I think it is. I mean, like right now, obviously it's such a strange time to like, cause it's like, come out and see us in person, but be safe. But don't, you know, like this is a really weird time for all of that. But a lot of it is like talking about support, like thanking people, like when people do come, thank you for supporting the arts. You are keeping art alive. You are directly contributing to our ability to make stuff like this, because that's the truth. And like, I think that hearing that though, people are like, hell yeah, like I am a part of this. Like because it is like art could not exist without the patrons that come to it. Right. What would be, I mean, I guess it could. That's like a whole like existential crisis question. It's like a alone in the woods, or whatever.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Not necessarily saying that, but you know what I mean. Like the type, or at least the type of art that I'm trying to create, doesn't exist without people. And so just like really like being excited, being impassioned about it. I think that almost everyone can be convinced to at least try something. And it's okay if they come and it's not for them, but like everyone can be convinced to come out and give it a try.
For sure.
Except maybe some kids, but kids are difficult. I didn't want to do shit when I was a kid either. It was like such a good family, you know? So
hopefully they'll just resent me from making them go and do so many things as opposed to all the other ways that I'm screwing them up.
Yeah, right.
So, what are the other things that you do? And I'm assuming this is one of the more recent developments, is you do burlesque now. So how does one find burlesque? I mean, you are obviously a natural performer, you know, you're good at moving your body and all that stuff. So is that just a natural progression, you think?
Kind of. I think it has to do more with like my personal, maybe what I'm looking for, like as talking, like, you know, like maybe feeling like a misfit or feeling like outcast kind of thing, for a part of my life and growing up and embracing that weirdness in me now and not giving a crap about it. But something that is really wonderful about burlesque in particular. So I believe circus is for everybody, 100%. But the representation that you see of circus is not necessarily show that, especially in any type of media. Like if you look at anything on television that is circus, you will see like crazy, athletic, ripped, like there is one thing happening, right? And that's just not true. Like anyone can do circus, anyone. And burlesque though, exact same, but they have, and that is a part of burlesque. Burlesque is so accepting of every person, and it's such a like awesome place to, again, like to like just like and egos, to step outside of yourself, to push yourself to do things that maybe are scary or different. Like there's like all different styles of burlesque. You can do straight comedy up there and it's gonna be well received, and that's awesome and exciting to me. So I always thought it was really, really exciting. And then I started performing at the Clock Tower Cabaret as just a variety act. So no burlesque. So I would do a hula hoop act, you know, and then like over time I was like, well, I'm gonna start I'm gonna try this. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, and now I just make straight up burlesque acts. So for me, it was like a process that is was a process of me feeling comfortable enough with myself to put that on stage. So.
I like how whenever you're talking about your previous self, your voice, you become like an older Jewish lady. I think that's really that's fascinating. I'm not sure if you realize there's an old Jewish woman trapped inside of you. But...
There is. I think there's a lot of characters trapped inside me. Because sometimes when I talk about my present self, I get very like, I'm just gonna go over here, and it's like a very like Alexis from Schitt's Creek kind of voice over. Yeah, there's a couple trapped in me.
That's so funny. So, how did you discover the burlesque stuff? Was it a friend of yours, or you just saw them do a casting call sort of thing, or did you go to a performance? What's the story there?
So I went to a performance. So I always knew about it, like existing in the world, but I never really knew what it was all about until I was in circus school. And then some of my instructors who I like really looked up to and still do and admire, worked in a couple of burlesque clubs, and they were doing a show and where they did circus burlesque. Cause I also never thought about the fact that those things could go together, you know, yeah. And going and seeing their show was crazy inspiring. And then I saw this other show that was all zombie themed burlesque. And like, oh my God, the level of like creativity, I was just like blown away about how creative it was. And I was like, yeah, this is for me. This is a scene I want to get involved in. And then one of the producers of a show at the Clock Tower, like I said, invited me to start doing variety down there. And so that's how I got on the stage. And then over time, I just was like looking around at everyone, like doing their thing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this too. And it was like a very slow build for me. So my journey is a lot different in burlesque than a lot of other people's.
Do you remember your first performance as, I guess, more pure burlesque?
Yeah, it's scary.
How did you mentally prepare yourself? Was it another case of like, I put on the makeup, so I'm putting on my armor sort of thing?
It was kind of like that, but I also so the first couple acts that I made as comfortable as possible. Like the character is very like bubbly and cute and energetic, so that it would be the easiest way for me to actually do it, is just being like who I feel like naturally, and then like over time I created acts that were like not like myself at all, like very like like silent or, you know, like slow, like sexy kind of things. And those were more of a challenge. So they took more time for me to build.
So have you ever had anybody like come to a show that just knew you in normal life and didn't realize you were actually doing burlesque, and then, you know, have a conversation with them? I was just curious, like, does that subvert people's expectations of you, or is that like on brand for Staza?
I think it's on brand. I have had people be like pleasantly surprised where they will come to a show and be like, I saw you still walking at the farmer's market. And then they like this show and they like, but it's like it's always like a pleasant surprise kind of for them thing. I think because I didn't grow up here, and like most of my experience living in Colorado I shouldn't say most, but a good chunk of it has been circus based. I like was in circus school for, you know, and then started performing after that being here. So most people that I know in regular life would know that I do that as a part of what I do for a living. So,
So do you think do you still get like excited and nervous before performances, or you pretty much have a routine?
Oh, yeah. Oh no, I get super nervous.
Really? Does the size of the crowd affect like your level of nervousness?
I think crowd size can affect it for sure. Like obviously if it's like a crazy huge crowd, that's like a little bit more like pressure. The event can affect the level of nervousness. Like, what is this event for? Is it a competition? Is it like a super big thing? Or is it like, is the mayor there? Like that's what happened. That could happen where it's like, oh, now I'm extra scared. Or like, you know, or like people I super look up to in the circus world, let's say, are in town doing a show, and then they come to one of my shows, and I would rather just not know they're there until after, because that kind of stuff can make me super nervous. So I'm like, oh, I want to be good. I want you to think I'm good. I want you to like what I'm doing. So yeah, I 100% can get really nervous.
So you've mentioned a couple of times people you look up to in the circus world. What is it that makes you look up to somebody else?
For me, it is really creativity. Like if somebody it blows me away with this like super unique concept that I've never, that's what blows me away as like something I've like never seen before. Like it could like let's say hula hooping, right? Like someone could be doing like 9 hoops on all their limbs, which is something like I can't do like it's like a specific hoop trick. I'm like trying to think about how to describe it to you, but it's like a box split with 9 hoops. It's really, really hard, really crazy hard. Like that would impress me, but it wouldn't make them my favorite. They could have just one hula hoop, but maybe they like use it like a portal and they become a different character. They have a wild costume change, like the creativity. And that's like what I was saying, like what with burlesque, what really drew me to burlesque is because I think the level of creativity can be off the charts with burlesque stuff. And so, yeah, that's what blows me away more than anything. And I really love, I like either if it makes me laugh or makes me cry. Like when things are just like beautiful, I'm like, it's beautiful, but I'm not going to walk away needing to see it again, maybe. Like, but if it's like either really out of the box thinking, really funny, or like really like moving in like a deep pain way, that's the stuff that I really like.
Yeah, I like things that make me feel stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I want to feel stuff.
Yeah, whether it's happy or sad or, you know, just hysterical. Yeah, I want to feel things. I love that, especially when you can blend, you know, all of those things together. To me, that's like the magical experience. I like going to movies or seeing a lot of live performances or musicals, or that's the kind of thing I love about that stuff.
Yeah, same, exactly. Yeah, I think I value creativity above like all else in that realm. So,
cool. Well, what do you see yourself doing next? Like you're always doing stuff. What's the new thing you're going to challenge yourself with?
I know. So I think that like my next challenge for myself is actually to work less, which is something I told you I was working on. And that is, I think that's my true next challenge, like to really figure out a sustainable, right? Because I'm just like, go, 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 go. I like want to make it sustainable for my future. And so it's figuring out balancing, like giving attention to the people and things in my life that I love outside of circus stuff. And then finding that like balance, and saying no, like, okay, like for example, right now I have been and continue to be like booked every single weekend into like mid-October, which is people's like dream to say. It's awesome. And I'm like, no, next, like I am like right now scheduling dates on my calendar for next year that I am not going to book because I'm going to go on vacation.
That's cool.
I'm going to visit family. And so that is like truly my next challenge, is like learning to say no. And I think that would be really beneficial for my practice too, because the less I'm like putting out constantly, the more I can train and like reach these, like I was telling you, I have certain skills that I personally want to be able to put on stage and feel good about. And so now hopefully I'll have more time to do that. So that's, yeah. And then maybe I'll go back into a crazy go, go, go. But I at least want this next year to be more about finding a balance in my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Staza, we're just about at time, and I want to be very respectful of your time. You were kind enough to not say no yet. You haven't started the saying no process yet, so obviously you said yes to
that. Yeah, I was so excited to do this. I found it so fun, and yeah, the recommendation from the recommendation, I was really into it. So I'm gonna sit in my kitchen and drink coffee. This is easy peasy.
Well, dude, I know you are crazy active on social media to a level that I have don't think I've seen anywhere else. Talk about busy, dude. You are like constantly pumping out content. So I definitely applaud you there. I'm curious if you wanted people to find out more about you or things you're doing, or what really hits me is like this amazing community you're creating. It's like, how do people become part of that? Like, how do you want people to interact with Staza? How would you have them do that?
I might have them do that on Instagram, because honestly, I have like a link tree, so you can click on that. You can see videos, you can see shows I'm in, you can see the website of like Rainbow Militia, like Circus Foundry, of Astral Hoops, who's my hula hoop sponsor. You can like literally see everything I'm up to. Like you said, I pump stuff out, so I'm always like, this is my show, this is the next show. So that is probably the best place that you can see like what I have upcoming, and reach out to me. Like when people are like, I want to learn from you, or you see me at a show, that's what I give them, because send me a message and I'll send you a message back, and we can talk about, whatever, circus and shit.
Yeah, I love all of your pictures of like you striking a pose, and you'll have like a raccoon doing the same pose.
Yeah, I photos.
That's hilarious. Or I love your this is what I'm thinking about when I'm actually doing this performance stuff. Those crack me up pretty good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like those. Thank you. Those are all like TikTok inspired, which is funny because I'm not really trying to get into TikTok or putting in a lot of effort into TikTok, but I enjoy the platform because I can create. I'm just like kind of doing whatever over there. But I'm not gonna lie, like the serotonin boost from TikTok, like one of my videos got like 500,000 views. Nice. And that was like, thinking about 500,000 people seeing something you did is like wild. Sorry, I'm like cursing. No. I'm like, maybe I should.
No, dude, this is you. Just be you. Don't worry about it.
It's like wild. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Now, if each of those could be $1, that would be.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's awesome. Yeah, I would definitely encourage everybody to get on Instagram. Speaking of serotonin boost, you're like a daily affirmation. I jump in there. It's like you just like. You're like my hype man. I just need to play your videos as I walk in the room, dude. They get you pumped. You're like so energetic. You are so awesome. Some really insightful stuff. I'm going to have to go back and make some more notes on this one. But I know there's some really amazing little message bombs. That whole one that got me down the stay in your lane tangent about like defining yourself. Dude, you're not supposed to throw those out so early. You're supposed to close. You're supposed to close with the big one. Close with the big one. No, I really dig it. And thank you so much for your time and your energy. I'm so glad this came together. Jennifer was very kind enough to send me your way, and I'm so glad she did. So I hope you have a great evening, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.
I hope so too. Thanks so much for having me, and I loved our conversation. So
all right, let me click stop on all of this stuff. First, they come in here.